Hello, this is Storm Warden coming at you today with another video update. And today we're going to talk about the pattern going forward, mainly the last week of October and what to expect maybe towards early November. And we'll mention the tropics very briefly, but I don't want to overtalk something that isn't really necessarily highlighted yet. And then we'll talk a little bit about some SPC outlooks, Severe Weather Prediction Center outlooks, and then we'll talk about the Climate Prediction Center outlooks, and then that'll be it. So, if you've been liking my weather content, please subscribe as I try my best to make daily weather updates and give you guys, accurate, honest meteorology. So, without further ado, we're gonna get right into this today. So, looking at my screen, you can see I have already had the GFS 500 millibar heights. And you probably see me do this a lot. And the reason why I like using this tool is because it really gives us a really good idea of the pattern that we're expecting going forward. So this really gives me a good idea what our temperature is gonna look like. Maybe our rain chances as well. So we're gonna go ahead and start moving it on. So a couple things you're gonna want to look out for is this big blue area that's gonna go over the western part of the country. What that entails is that we're going to see some troughing over the west and some ridging over the east. What all that means is that you're just going to have a warmer pattern setting up over the east and a much cooler and a wetter pattern setting up over the west. And so you're going to see this really nicely on the GFS. And this is the 500 millibar heights. You can see our streamlines how they go down and then go up. This is the pattern that supports troughing over the west and ridging out east. This is why for Halloween, we're expecting warmer temperatures, even hot temperatures, because we're going to have a fairly strong ridge over the eastern United States. So that should definitely lend to warmer temperatures than normal. So probably above normal temperatures. But out west, you're probably going to be experiencing cooler temperatures and a wetter pattern in general. You'll probably see above normal rain chances as well, and the potential for some severe weather opportunities as well as you get this deeper trough to really dig in. And as I was been saying previously on previous videos, whenever you get these deeper troughs to really dig in this part of the season, you're going to want to watch for potential severe weather episodes, because as that happens, you get this trough to really dig. You typically get that Gulf of Mexico moisture to really build up, and you get some severe weather episodes to really become much more likely in the second tornado season, which we're actually headed into or already in. And so as we get this trough to really dig in, you're going to want to watch out for a couple hazards. One being severe weather, and then over here in the east, drought conditions look to linger, and we could potentially looking at a pretty bad drought if this lack of rain continues with this very warm, hot weather over us. So, and wildfire risk will also increase if we continue to see this lack of rainfall over the east. So, looking at our EPS 500 millibar heights, and it's generally showing the exact same thing. Troughing over the west, ridging over the east, pretty deep trough located over the west. This should allow for some severe weather to take place in the middle part of the country. This should also allow for above normal rain chances and also cooler weather over the east, over the west. Over the east, it's pretty clear. We're seeing warm weather, dry weather for our last week of October and pretty much going into early November. And I want to go back to the GFS model. Goes out a little further, and we're going in time. And you look how the warmer weather kind of just sticks around. But you can notice we get into early November, things become more average for because you don't see any red or blue in the map. This entails that we're probably looking at pretty average weather across the United States. So it's looking like we're going to go into a pretty transient pattern, pretty fast, where we're going to see a west coast trough, east coast ridge that quickly goes away, and then we just kind of looking at more average weather with a trough that may move in early November, giving us cooler weather here in the east. So there may be some hope alive here in the east for some cooler weather, maybe some isolated rain chances, here and there. Now, I said it briefly as I mentioned the tropics, and we're going to start off looking at some of the ensemble members from overnight about this tropical system. And we're going to start with showing you the EPS, and then I'll show you the GFS ensembles. So looking at the EPS ensembles, and remember the area that we've been talking about is right down here in the Caribbean. Notice how you get some highlighting of the members, but generally none of them are threatening the U.S. And that's the thing, and that's the whole thing right here. And also, if you notice, look how far back in time models, at least the EPS has kind of shifted. It's now shifting more towards, the first week of November compared to the last couple of days of October. Now, something that we learn with these models and ensembles is that whenever you see a system that's moving back in time, typically, delay means denied. Not all the time, but more times than not, when something gets delayed, it's usually denied. Not saying that we can't get a system in the Caribbean, but if we can see this is delay in a model, then that may be signs that this thing may not develop. But again, there's still some questions regarding the environment, regarding what happens, because look at the GFS ensemble members, and they're still fairly excited with this system, and so we're going to keep watching this because GFS models, ensembles are still excited with this system. But a couple of things to note: if you look at these ensemble members, how many of them actually threaten the U.S.? There's a couple that run into South Florida, but there aren't many that show a doomsday scenario like some people have posted already online. So if you're seeing something about election day, massive hurricane, guys, that's just simply not the case. We in fact have a lot of disagreement between the models. And there's a lot of models that actually don't show anything developing. So so if you see a doomsday scenario on your feed, please don't pay any attention to it. Right now we don't know. We just don't know. We're kind of just watching ensembles and seeing what may happen. Looking at the National Hurricane Center outlook, and there's no highlighted area for the potential for a tropical cyclone activity. There's no highlighted area. Now, by late this week and early next week, there may be a lemon or a 10% area that develops over here in the Caribbean. But right now, there's no highlighted area, and there's no expectation for any tropical cyclone activity to develop over the next 7 days. So now we're going to look at our CPC outlook, which is Climate Prediction Center, and this just further entails what I was talking about with the 500 millibar heights with our West Coast trough. This only further confirms that with that warmer weather over the east, cooler weather over the west. And in between these two air masses, that's where you can get some severe weather to happen. As you get some of that Gulf moisture to pull up, you can definitely get some severe weather episodes to happen in the middle part of the country. And you can kind of just see how over here we're kind of looking at a very, very warm pattern. This is a fairly strong ridge over the eastern United States, which should lend to some very warm temperatures for our Halloween and for the last week of October. So if you're looking for a cooler Halloween, sorry, that's just unfortunately not going to happen. However, if you're out west, you'll probably be experiencing the cooler and the wetter weather over there. Now, looking at our 8 to 14 day outlook, you can kind of see how our pattern just becomes average to just warmer than normal across most of the countries, except the far western where it just becomes pretty average. So looking at this, our warmer weather should be expected at least over the next couple of weeks. So we'll be looking out for some troughs to move through across the east to give us some cooler and some wetter weather, but for now, expect warmer temps over the east. Now, looking at our precip outlook, and we're still looking at some drier weather over the east. Now, there are some signs that we may get some rain further out in the low range, but for now, I'm not seeing anything that gives us any measurable rainfall. But you can kind of see how it highlights the middle part of that country for the above average rainfall over the next 6 to 10 days. And some of this is probably from the potential for some severe weather episodes to happen. So you want to watch out for that hazard. Looking at a 8 to 14 day outlook, and you can still see over here in the east, you do start to get some above average probability for rainfall over the northeastern part of the country. But down the southeast, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, we're not highlighted, in above average rainfall, but we're also not highlighted in below average. So we're kind of at average. So we may have average chances to see some rainfall as you get later out in the outlook. But for now, looking at the models, everything that I've seen, I'm not seeing any measurable rainfall for a long time. So we're going to keep watch on that because if this continues, obviously we could see a severe drought across the southeast and just across the east in general. But there are signs that in the northeast, you guys may see some more above average chances for rainfall pretty soon. Now, looking through November 1st, you can kind of just see how like over the pretty much over most of the eastern United States, we're just not seeing a ton of rainfall. We're just not, and this is through November 1st, guys. So we're talking through the end of next week. We're not seeing any measurable rainfall, so this is obviously going to highlight us in the drought, maybe even a pretty moderate to severe drought if this continues, and potential a wildfire risk if this also continues. Now, I talk about Severe Weather Prediction Center, and I want to highlight something that they said towards the end of their outlook. Given uncertainty, we will not introduce any 15% outlooks right now, but they may be needed in subsequent outlooks for parts of the Central Plains to Upper Midwest vicinity around days 6 through 7 for Tuesday and Wednesday. So this just highlights that, that West Coast trough, at some point they may need to add a 15% chance for severe weather across the middle part of the country. A 50% chance is, equals a slight risk of severe weather. So that certainly highlights that, severe weather may be back on the increase. You may be seeing some severe weather episodes. So if you're in the central part of the United States, you're going to want to watch out the Midwest, the Plains. You're going to want to watch out for some severe weather episodes to happen as you get that West Coast trough to really dig and to help bring up that Gulf moisture collided with both air masses of the warm and the cold. You could certainly get some severe weather episodes to happen out in the central United States. But other than that, guys, there's not much going on in the weather world for now. I do expect things to get a little bit more active as we head towards the end of the month with that severe weather possibility in the central part, and then the potential for maybe some tropical cyclone to develop in the Caribbean. But if you're in the eastern United States, for now, we're just looking at a pretty warm, dry pattern that we're seeing right now. But again, we have to keep watch on any subsequent troughs that may try to move through across the east. They'll give us much cooler and wetter weather. But for now, that's all I got, guys. I'll be back at you guys in another video tomorrow.